Good afternoon and welcome to day two of the second annual Nat King Cole Generation Hope Educators Conference entitled Equity and Access in Music Education, sponsored by Nat King Cole Generation Hope with the generosity of the Selz Foundation. My name is Edrick Rhodes and I will be your facilitator for the next 2 days. Currently, I am the Director of Curriculum and Administration in the Education Department at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Over the next couple of days, we will explore the importance of equity and access in music education through various perspectives from an incredible panel of presenters from across the country. Yesterday, we had 3 exceptional clinicians. We hope you enjoyed them and took away some promising practices that you can put into action this coming school year. Before we start the nuts and bolts of this session, of our sessions, we all know that wellness, mindfulness, and mental health has finally been placed to the forefront of personal and professional growth. With that said, we would like to start this session with a mindfulness minute with Ms. Brittany Swindle, Director of Bands at Petal High School in Petal, Mississippi.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up just to double check. Awesome. Like you said, my name is Brittany Swindle. I am here in the metropolis of Petal, Mississippi, near Hattiesburg, if you know where that is. And today, I want you to take just a minute and be selfish. The nature of our job is to serve others. We serve our students. And you compound that on top of the fact that many of us are parents and we also serve our families, and our cups empty quickly. So I want to take you through just a mindfulness minute. It is a very short part of my day every day. I do it every morning just to make sure that I am charged and ready and have plenty of energy to give to others that need it from me. One step in that is that I draw an affirmation card every morning, and I get these straight from Amazon. These are called Less Anxiety affirmation cards. I call this my selfish deck. I have a deck that's like very empowering, and this is my deck that reminds me that it is okay to take care of myself. So I pull a random card every day and read it. For the sake of this conference, I intentionally pulled one for you, and it says, "The world will be healed one step at a time with kindness, love, and compassion." I'll start with feeling those feelings towards myself. And the whole point of this conference is healing the world with kindness, love, and compassion and inclusion. But we can't do that for others until we do that for ourselves. So I just wanted to take a minute today to make sure that you had time planned for you to love and show compassion for yourself so that you are charged and ready to show that for others. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Brittany, for that moment to refresh our minds and inner self. Our first clinician today is Ms. Julie Duty. Julie completed her undergraduate degree at Arizona State University in 1998, earning a bachelor's of music in music education. She taught high school and middle school band and served as a mentor teacher for 9 years in Arizona. Since leaving the classroom, Julie has remained dedicated to music education and community service. She's an active volunteer with the Sunshine Acres Children's Home in Mesa, Arizona, working as a grant writer and executive assistant. She volunteers within her church community as a leader of a regional orchestra and leads a 150-member children's choir. Julie also spends many hours each week volunteering in her local school district. She co-founded a parent advocacy group, Gilbert Music Matters, which works to bring parents and school district leaders together to improve music education. Julie currently serves as the founder and executive director of United Sound Incorporated, working with teachers, parents, and school administrators to bring meaningful participation and inclusion to the instrumental music classroom. Julie still is an active musician, performing with the Tempe Symphonic Wind Ensemble for the past 20 consecutive years. She works regularly for the Arizona Band and Orchestra Directors Association as a judge and adjudicator for statewide events, and is a mother of 3 adorable musicians of her own. With no further ado, speaking on creating a culture of inclusion that works for you and your students, please welcome Miss Julie Duty. Good afternoon, Julie.
Thanks, Edrick. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Thank you for having me. Gonna share my screen here. Hopefully everybody can see it. Um, I am the kind of presenter that likes to be interrupted. So if you have a question as we go along, when I am looking at this, at the PowerPoint, I can't see the chat at the same time. So it's totally fine with me if you unmute yourself and just say, but wait a minute, or I have an idea, or this is something that happened in my classroom. I think we're all better when we share more when we share. And sometimes when I personally have to wait until the end of a session, I've forgotten the question, or I've forgotten really the relevance of why I wanted to ask that question, even if I can remember. So please don't hesitate to just unmute yourself and participate as much as you're comfortable. I can't see you while we do this, but would love to hear from anybody. So today we're going to talk about leadership and inclusion. I know that as educators, you are familiar with IDEA. It's 1 year older than me. We've got, public schools, and we've got a federal mandate to make an appropriate place for every single child. We've had 46 years to do it. And so to me, we look at that one. That should mean that special education students can and do participate in music at approximately the same rate as their peers, right? If we've had a federal mandate to include everyone for 46 years, we would have gotten it by now. But the reality is that we have about 3.2 million high school and middle school special needs students that don't have access to music education. It's a lot of kids. Less than 2% of secondary students are participating in music. And most of them are not in band and orchestra, right? Most of them are in choir. A well-trained or not well-trained teacher, knowing what to do with them. If you're going to participate, this is often where we put you, which if choir is the thing you should do, then that's the thing you should do. But if it's the only choice, that's maybe not a great thing. What's the reality of IDEA in the music classroom? I think it looks like this. Your captain get everything done, right? You work incredibly hard to recruit and make sure that you have too many students in the room. The math teacher is not doing that, right? That math teacher is not hunting for more kids than they have desks, but you are. This business guy drawing doesn't even come close to showing the number of things you're doing in a day. And now we're going to add more students who need more support to your already full classes, right? And by the way, these are children that most of us have never been trained to teach. I wasn't. Some of our younger students that are going through their undergraduate now are getting a little bit of information, but it's still pretty small. So what do? My personal experience is that I've been teaching for a couple of years, and I said, oh, every kid should be allowed to be in the band. I'm a band director. And my principal said, wonderful. And then all of a sudden, every kid was in the band. And I said, wait a minute, I have no idea what to do. And she said, oh, it's fine, as long as they're in the room. In the room is better than out of the room. And I felt pretty bad about that. So what's the balance, right? How do we make this work when there's only one of you, when there's only one of me? My reality was, she said, okay, I had 92 kids in my 7th grade band that year, and 3 of them were non-speaking autistic students. And I was like, Ma, I don't know what to do. And they all 3 had aides with them who were no help at all because they were on their cell phones, right? And I was angry at them. I can see now with a little bit more perspective that they didn't know how to help me because I wasn't giving them that information either. But have you been in this? Has anybody been in this situation where you are going to just meet the needs of every kid, and then it's like, well, here you go, and you get no support and there's nobody to help you do it? Has this happened?
I'm going to jump in. In our school district, often the kids that have an aide with them, the time that they're supposed to come to orchestra or band is when the aide gets their break.
That's very common.
Mm,
Because the aide has to
yeah.
have some sort of break, right? So this might be
Right.
the very best time. So how do we make this work? Because we know, I think everybody who's in this session has a desire to meet the needs of every child. We all wanted to be music educators because we love music. We love education. We love kids. We don't want to leave anybody at the side, but we are also human beings who can only do so many things. So the question to me is, why are we not meeting the needs of every child, right? If we're going to solve a problem, we have to know what the problem is. I think it comes down to the three things I've kind of mentioned. Number one, nobody taught us how to do this. Number two, there's really no extra time or staffing to devote to that new population. For me, it was, well, I mean, you can be in the room. I can put a pad on this drum so we can't hear what you're doing. And my principal's like, yay, they're in the room. And I'm going, this is so bad. But at the moment I give you the amount of time and attention that it will take for you to be successful, what happens to the rest of the room? I mean, let's be honest, there were 97th graders in the room. It was already chaos. But this is the situation, right? What am I going to do? I need more people. I need more hands on deck. And the last thing is maybe this lack of specialized curriculum. I've got an entire shelf full of textbooks. I can learn, what the law is. I can learn how to make modifications and build boxes and do all of these things for every single one of these children because now I'm legally obligated to because they came to me with an IP, right? But there's nothing that I can buy off of the shelf. I can't just go to the store and go, this will work. This is developed for you. Here's the thing. So we created United Sound to answer those three questions. We provide a lot of teacher and student training modules in different forms. Sometimes it's written, sometimes there are videos, sometimes you're talking with us in person. Sometimes it's a text message that says, here's one more little thing, that we can add to what you already know. I can't change the staffing at your school. I wish that I had that magic wand. But we can utilize peer mentors to create a student-led music club. And this, when we talk about creating that culture of inclusion and creating a culture of leadership, this is where we're going to do it. And I will tell you now, and I'll talk about some numbers here in a minute, but we've had about 8,000 kids come through United Sound in the last 7 years, as young as 11. And they make fantastic mentors. They need about 1 year under their belt, and then they can do anything, which is awesome. And then we're going to provide everything we can possibly think of, from curriculum and method books, book 1, book 2, flashcards, lesson plans, how-to videos, everything we can think of we're going to provide. Not everybody uses everything. So you're a professional educator and your teaching situation is not going to be the same as anything I personally have ever experienced, and vice versa. So we make everything we can think of, and then we say, it's a buffet. What will help? Which pieces would you like to use from all of these things that will help you to do to succeed at inclusion and not, ruining yourself along the way. So let me show you a little video here.
Hi, I'm Josh T., the Director of Bands at Desert Vista High School in Phoenix, Arizona. And my program is involved with the United Sound organization. We've actually been very lucky to be involved from the very beginning. As young men and women, as students, as mentors, and as kind of comrades to students across campus, and to see them develop, and really for them to grow as teachers and students of the art. It's also been really neat to see the new students, the mentees, develop, and for them to really come alive and to watch them come into the band room with such joy and to celebrate all these little things, all these little accomplishments. It's something we all can learn from.
It's a hard thing as a parent that I'm her best friend, and yet this program allowed her to expand those friends, and those girls actually did contact her.
My name is Bill Bitter, and I'm the orchestra director here at Highland High School. The kind of growth that we've seen not only in our special needs students, but also in my orchestra students who serve as mentors has been phenomenal. You never know what a student can do until you allow them the chance to do it.
When me like roaches, I've played all the challenges.
With our special ed students, we've really been able to learn about how they learn, different ways that we can reach them. We've also learned how musical they can actually be because they haven't had this opportunity before. So it's been quite the eye-opening experience for us.
Started with 9 students who were going to be part Sound here at Highland. We started with 27 mentors. We split them into teams of 3, and so there was never a student musician without a mentor at our meetings. And they all immediately had 3 brand new friends. And that's a major component of what music education is about, building those relationships with students.
My saxophone teachers are my new friends, and learning all the notes makes me feel great.
I'm very happy.
And are you excited about the concert?
Yes, I get my goals. Yeah, that goes. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go.
The best part about it is that I made a new friend. So
Yes, we do.
It makes me it made me so happy to watch him be able to do something I didn't think he would ever be able to do. So I'm very, very excited and very happy.
One of the things about United Sound is that we just love making music. It's not about let's see how much attention I can get. No, it's about what music can we make together.
I have a lot of favorite quotes, but to me, this one just speaks to my own personal experience of why I was in music, why I participated for all of these years, and I wonder if it does for you also. So, what is it exactly? United Sound is a peer mentoring program that pairs students with special needs and their typical peers in band and orchestra setting. The peer mentors do the teaching and teach the new musicians to play the instrument of their choice at a personally modified level and then join the full ensemble to perform. So we've got kind of 2 things going on here. One is that it's reverse inclusion, meaning we're not dropping you off in the second hour band. We're going to create a special education music class and include the mentors versus the other direction. So that's what reverse inclusion is. But also, while we've created something that is especially for you, it's not a separate thing over here. We're doing this so that you can play with us, so that you can participate in the regular thing. We're not doing like, let's have a special education orchestra concert. No, we're having an orchestra concert. Be a part of it. We're marching in the Rose Parade in January of 2022. And it's not look, there are the United Sound kids. It's the Bands of America Honor Band is marching in the Rose Parade, and some of them will be United Sound students. So we're doing neat things already, really big and really small, whether you're teaching, beginners how to play the recorder or doing something at a collegiate level. You're already doing the very best thing that exists. Can we bring more people into what you're already doing in a way that works for them? So here's where we are so far. We've got about 7, it's actually 9 this fall, universities, 93 high schools, 35 middle schools. The majority of what we pay attention to, are instrumental music. Not because choir and general music don't need it, and not because you're not meeting these students, but because you're already teaching these students. So you can take any of these concepts, any of these pieces, you can ask us for help, but we have found that the biggest problem is that instrument. Nobody, what do I do now that I've handed you the clarinet? So we're trying to solve that problem, but obviously a peer mentoring approach works for anybody. I zoomed in on it really quick. Take a look at the graph here. I told you that my own experience was, well, I guess I'm going to put this pad on the drum so we can hear what you're doing. So you can make noise while we play, and still a ton of kids choose to play percussion because hitting things is awesome. There are a lot of percussionists in this world, right? But when you look at this, we get a ton of violins. Look at how many children are learning to play the violin. A lot more euphoniums than you would think, because that guy is easy to play. A ton of saxophones because everybody wants to play the saxophone. To me, this looks like if we were starting beginning band and beginning orchestra and not putting constraints on who could play what, that's what it would end up looking like. So that's what that happens. We start with that authentic choice of What would you like to play? Not here's what we've chosen for you, and then we'll make it work for you. Okay, so we talked about those 3 problems, remember, of why we're not meeting the needs. Here's how United Sound attempts to do that. The first one is that we receive little to no music training. It says secondary music teachers, but we know that it's all music teachers. Step 1 in training is to partner you with a special education teacher and not an aide who doesn't show up. And that's one of the important things about when we come into a school environment. Now you have somebody outside of yourself saying, oh, no, this is a team effort. This isn't somebody's break time. You can't send the aide who isn't going to help. This is a real class. This is a really important thing. So that creating a culture of inclusion starts with making it realistically manageable for you with a teammate who already knows what to do. Your special education teacher will have the job of knowing how to train the mentors, and you will have the job of knowing how to play an open D on the violin. And neither one of you has to know anything you don't already know, and that's good. I will tell you, just as an aside, whether you participate with United Sound or not, empowering this teacher to help you is the biggest thing. When a special education teacher is in your space, and especially if they're not already a musician, they will not lean in. They will not tell you what to do. They will not help you. They do not understand what you're doing. And even if they do, it's not a safe space, right? They're in your classroom with all of your instruments in your, foreign language that you're speaking, all of this music-y stuff. And that is a weird situation for these teachers. So when we're helping with this relationship, we meet with the music teacher privately so that everybody knows what the job is. And we're going to make this special education teacher the star of the show. She knows everything. We're looking to her. What do you think we should do about this? And the more that you honor her or him, it's a her in this picture. The more that you honor that teacher and say your knowledge is critical to this process, then we're good to go, right? Then suddenly she'll start sharing everything with you. I was talking about just teaching diverse learners to a group of people, and we started talking about social stories, which is essentially a story or a picture map that says this is the order of events, this is the problem, this is the resolution, and this is a really very common special education tool that all of the teachers have access to. Most of them have a computer program that'll just make it for them. And somebody said, well, they didn't make me one of those to help. And I said, well, did you ask? Did you delineate the steps? Did you say, here's the problem I'm having? How would you fix it if this was you? So inside or outside of United Sound, I'm telling you, empowering that person to help you and making sure that they feel valuable and important is the biggest thing. But our teacher training really just comes, number one, from this relationship building, because you don't need to know more things. You already know everything you need to know about music, so let's just bring somebody else into your space. The second thing, remember we talked about that no extra time or staffing. I can only fix the problem by giving you students as teachers, but they're magical at it. So in United Sound, our peer mentor to new musician ratio is 3-to-1. 1-to-1 is dangerous, because what happens when the peer mentor has a dentist appointment, right? Now what am I supposed to do? I've got nobody to help me. What happens if there's a personality conflict, or somebody's feeling tired, or it's difficult. And so at least 2 mentors for each one new musician, each person that you're including, is really a wonderful place to start. For us, 3-to-1 is the magic number. 4, there's nothing for the 4th person to do and they get off task. But at most highest need, you've got somebody to put their hands on you, somebody to help point and track the music, because that is the hardest thing to do. If you have any child, special education or not, that is struggling, they're probably not able to track the music. Make it bigger and move it closer, and you might solve all the problems in the world. I can see Christina nodding her head like, yep, been there. Music tracking is so hard, and especially if you're teaching elementary school, we're still learning how to track reading in a book that we can physically touch. So, and one person to touch you. If you don't need that, often you just need one person to help you track and 2 to play with you or 3 to play with you. The key here is that you're never playing by yourself. You've never got a mentor or 2 mentors who are like watching you, because that's terrifying. Like, I play my instrument pretty well. I don't want anybody to sit quietly and watch me at this point, or tell me what to do and then listen to if I succeeded. So you can have that one person saying, all right, let's do this. We're right here. And then everybody's always playing together and making music together. One of the things that I really like to consistently remind myself is that inclusion is not a place. It starts by opening the door and making sure everybody is in the room. But inclusion is actually community identity and belonging. So when we set up those relationships to foster community identity and belonging, then we've got real inclusion. Not, I let you come into the room, right? In the room was better than out of the room. We have lots and lots of training videos before the new musicians show up. Our special education teachers, with support from the music teacher, are in charge of running 2 one-hour training sessions. And we provide all the stuff for you to do this. It's worksheets, videos where you'll push play and watch the video for 30 to 60 seconds and then push pause and talk about it. So you don't have to create anything, but it's all sitting there. We're going to start talking about all of these things. I'm going to show you just this little clip so you can kind of get an idea.
All right, will you point? Hey, 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 rest, hey, 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 rest, hey, 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 rest. Good job. All right, let's go. All right, ready? Hey, 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 rest, hey, 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 rest, hey, 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 rest. Good. Let's do the bottom one. Hey, hey, rest, hey, hey,
So successful, collaborative relationships preserve agency and celebrate diversity. The more time you spend training your new staff, the peer mentors, the more successful they'll be. But I do want to say that friendship should never be the goal. And I get a lot of pushback for this, and you may be feeling the same way. But the reality is, friendship is a consequence of shared, meaningful experiences. Think about your own friends and how you gained them and how your friendships became deeper over time. It wasn't because somebody was like, all right, I need a friend, right? We don't do this. We have shared, meaningful experiences, and then we become friends, and we become bonded, and that's what we want for our kids. Our 2 key ways to empower mentors are, 1, unless there's a safety issue, we ask the special education teachers to advise only the mentors. They never give direct instruction to their own students, and neither do you. So as we're trading roles, special education teacher is talking to mentors, you're talking to new musicians. If you ignore your own students, we actually have a lot of success in that way. So if you had, let's say, Edrick and I am the new musician and Edrick is my mentor. If the teacher comes over, she notices a problem, I'm doing whatever, and she comes over and she says, oh, Julie, XYZ. Then every time I start doing whatever I was doing, Edrick is going to be looking for the teacher to come help, right? But if she came over and right in front of me said, Edrick, say this to Julie, or help Julie do this, or put your hand here and do this, XYZ, she's empowered Edrick now to help me all by himself forevermore. And that's what we want to do. And then the second thing is, and this just goes without saying, you can use this anywhere, but when a student or child asks you, what should I do about, ask them what they would like to try. You're going to be able to filter their ideas for safety, but they will come up with, and they do come up with things that we just don't think of. We also have a policy of not giving anybody any information that they didn't need. Um, so we talk about safety things, right? Like Eric is a runner, don't go in the hallway, he'll end up in the parking lot. But we don't tell you what Eric will or will not be able to do with his instrument, because we've seen time and time again kids who can't put things in their mouth, can't blow on anything. And I'm using the word can't pretty liberally here, because when the mentor says, hey, we're all going to play the clarinet, and suddenly Joseph is playing the clarinet. Because peer pressure is a wonderful or terrible thing, right? Everybody in the room made some bad decisions when they were a teenager from peer pressure, but we can use it in the other direction, and it works like magic. I forgot to mention, I'm sure you noticed when we were watching the training video how noisy it was in the room. And when we have these rehearsals, everybody's in the same room. It's chaotic and cacophonous. But we have students, that wear the noise canceling headphones all day, every day, that come into United Sound and take them off. Because being a part of making that noise, and an intentional part, not just, yelling or something, changes everything. And not everybody takes their headphones off, and you don't have to, you can hear just fine. But that's a magical thing to watch their special education teacher just go, he took his headphones off. Well, he wanted to hear himself playing the cello, and he no longer cared that there were, 40 other children around him making noise, which is a good thing. When you're going for that culture of leadership inclusion, all culture is built on shared experience, right? Positive and negative. Our negative experiences build the culture. Our teacher's personality, positive or negative, builds the personality. But if we want to intentionally shape any kind of culture, create shared experiences that are successful and meaningful. So structure everything for success and make sure that there's really important and deep meaning, and then boom, we have a culture, right? Leadership and inclusion just comes naturally to everyone, because that child who's helping this young lady to play the saxophone is also learning how to be a better marching band section leader. He's also learning how to be a better employee and a better brother and a better uncle, right? And all the things that may come along in his life, but he's learning all of these things by this one shared, deep, meaningful experience with her. The final thing is that lack of specialized curriculum. This doesn't build, curriculum does not build culture, but it does make a successful experience. So I'm just going to show you quickly how we do it. I'm sure you heard them talking about cake in the violin video. Rhythms are complicated. And this is another thing, when you approach your special education department and say, hey, I want to do the thing, if they're not musicians, they will say something akin to, I don't play the violin, what makes you think he could? And I know you're gasping right now, but I have heard it so many times, and it's just heartbreaking. But when you say, well, let's look at this. I'm going to do number 1, cake, 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 soup, soup. Will you do number 2 with me? And of course they can. And then they say, oh, well, that's not real music. And you just say, okay, you're right, it's not. But we have kids that cannot add 1 + 1 = 2, that can read down a full page of food rhythms in time. So when we take out that abstract concept of counting, we can suddenly be successful, and be successful right away, which is wonderful. The first book includes these 4 rhythms, the rest and the cake and the half note, quarter note, and 2/8 notes. Book 2 also adds 16th notes and dotted quarter eighth, but it also shrinks everything gradually down. So if you get to the end of book 2, you can join beginning band, beginning orchestra, go to the music store and buy, grade easy Harry Potter song, and you'll be able to play it. If you stay at the beginning of book 1 and play just B flat at just the right time forever, that's okay too, because this band song has a lot of B flats in it. And we're going to write you a piece of music that enables you to do only what you can do successfully with all the rest of us. And that's good. We start with flashcards. This helps, and I'm sure you've noticed here that everything is spatial, so the half note is twice as long as the quarter note. Then the flashcards work in the same way, and this helps the mentors to start to identify right away, are you reading rhythms or are you copying me? Right? We can be sight reading from the very beginning. This child is one of my favorites. He plays cello in the orchestra and trumpet in the band. This is his first day. He moved to the school about halfway through the school year.
Exactly. Would you say that there's two of these in each one of these?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because see how these two are little and this one's big.
Yeah. So this
one is longer, so this is a longer one.
And that's exactly what they sound like. Exactly.
And these two ones are cello.
Yes, exactly.
He was in a very severe car accident, has a really severe brain injury, but has changed from, you heard me say trumpet and cello, you're not welcome in the music program, to you can read both clefs and come to every concert, which is awesome. Then the books have whatever each one needs. So in book 1, the strings play the 4 open strings. You can see those colors down at the very bottom of the fingerboard. We make them out of Post-it notes, so they're not ruining the fingerboard. We have to send lots of extras because they fall off. Better than ruining the fingerboard. But now you can see, so if you saw a yellow bowl of soup, you're going to play a half note on the G string and you're reading music on the very first day. You are successful. The books have students that may or may not look like you so that everybody feels comfortable. Book 1 for strings have the 4 open strings. Book 2 plays the whole D scale, as you would expect. The band books, everybody except for saxophone and clarinet play concert B flat, concert A, concert G. We're going down, not up for the brass players. We're going down, not up for the flutes because that's so hard. Clarinet and saxophone play concert D, concert C, concert B flat. So everybody in the room can use one hand. Almost everybody can use either hand if we've got a physical disability to go along with this. And everyone can be successful. A lot of us are playing in G minor. It's a major third, so we can play together. It sounds fine. Mary lost her little lamb, and she's really sad about it when we play that one because it's in minor. When we combine then the spatial and the foods with the colors, everything gets beautiful. We obviously transition right here on starting at the very beginning to real notation. So it's still spatial, but we're losing those foods. Everything gradually shrinks down to black and white and, traditional notation. I'm going to sidebar here, and I forgot to put the slide in, but if you would like to use this or this notation, it's a free download and it works with Finale and Sibelius. So if you go to unitedsound.org, one of the tabs says the word font, and you can download it from there. So if that would help you in your classroom, you do not have to participate in United Sound. We have lots of elementary schools and elementary school teachers who use that and don't do anything else with us. But if that will help you, having, it's longer because it's longer, please make yourself available to that. When we talk about creating a culture, the goal is to take that amazing life-altering thing that you do every single day that has influenced every single person in this room's life and make it available to more children. United Sound's goal is to help you do that in a way that doesn't bury you. That's all. If you can do it in any other way and we can help you, that's fine. If you don't need our help, I'm so excited. We just want everybody making music and everybody having fun. You can play Tchaikovsky at your final concert. You can play at the pep assembly. So fun, right? There are a couple of things I want you to notice. This band has I think 14 new musicians. You can see, 6 or 7 of them in the video. The other 7 are wearing the white band shirt and buried in the band. We meet everybody where they are. When you watched the orchestra at the beginning in that first video, you could see a few kids in the front. The rest are wearing tuxedos. Some of us, if we don't wear a white prom dress to the orchestra concert and, take our own personal bow, that would be very sad. Others need a day to be just like everybody else, and that's also fine. So each kid kind of incorporates into the ensemble in a way that meets them, and that's fun, right? And fine. But think about what this says, this inclusion with no words. at the pep assembly what this says to the rest of the school, right? Just being there. And that's what we want. We don't need any more prom queens. We need somebody to have somebody to sit by at the football game, someone to talk to in the hallway, somebody to have lunch with, someone to text. It's those little things that our kids are missing that we can give them through band and orchestra and choir and all music. Sorry. So learning together and performing together changes our students on fundamental levels on both sides of this relationship. They will all become better musicians. They will all learn to lead and teach. They'll all be more committed to your program, and they will all watch out and care for one another inside and outside of the music room, because including everyone is good for everyone, and that's the most important thing. If we've learned anything this year, if I personally have learned anything this year, it's how much we need each other. It has been a lonely year and a half for me. I don't teach in a classroom anymore, so not getting to do this nonprofit thing was really hard. Those connections between us are critical, and adding in a few more students to your program, to your musical life, gives your current musicians the opportunity to teach, and will change everybody forever, long term. And that's what we want, is to have more kids who love and care about each other. So that's the end of my spiel. We've got a few minutes. Does anybody have any questions? And please don't hesitate with the yeah, but, or I think this would work, except, or have you thought about, or anything like that.
Yes, the virtual floor is open. This was just incredible. While questions are probably being generated, Julie, I just want to ask, maybe I missed this. How long does it take to train like a mentor, or is there an X amount of time that you take before you start putting them then in with students?
So we spend the other thing I forgot to mention, and thank you for bringing this up, most United Sound chapters, not all of them, some of them are a class, they meet together every single day of the week, but most are a club that meet after school. I would say 70-75% meet after school once a week. It's a thing they do together at every level. We don't care how you do it. Like I said, we want to support everyone. So when we start, we spend the first 2 after school 45-minute lessons with just the mentors. And we talk about how to teach someone with a disability, right? How to interact appropriately, and then how to use the curriculum. Most of the training obviously comes when the rehearsals have started and the teachers are wandering around, right? And somebody's telling Edrick what to say to me, and these kind of things. That the real training is on the job, but we want to make sure everybody feels comfortable. It gives that focused training time gives the mentors that safety to ask questions, to learn that there are no dumb questions, that it's okay to, ask things that maybe they would be afraid to ask. I think us as teachers, one of the things that we did right away was just immediately implement the word new musician. And that took so much fear away from, well, what do I call them? What's the appropriate word, right? Because the terminology changes all the time. I noticed in one of my slides, it still says special needs, and we don't use that term anymore. So I'm going to go back and change that. But, it's a moving target for what the correct terminology is. But if your word is musician, because that's what you are when you're here with us, then you will never get it wrong. So we do about 2 hours, but anything that you think is, appropriate to make people feel good.
And my next question, can the method books be purchased on the United Sound website, or is there?
No. It's a whole thing that comes together because they're a consumable. So no, you can't purchase the method books, but if you're doing something that's outside of, just starting a regular United Sound chapter, I will literally share everything with you that I've ever had or learned or done. So I'm really, it's that, no, you can't buy it, but if you need it and you can't do it the way we want you to do it, we'll give it to you for free. Like, I'll give it to you, but I can't sell it to you.
Right. No, I understand that. That's. I'm glad I was able to ask that question.
Yeah, me too.
Just going back to this, I just wrote some notes down. The reverse inclusion. I just wrote down to myself that is the ultimate inclusion, and how long did it take for you to master the 3-to-1 ratio? Because I don't know, I didn't think that through. And when you broke it down, 4 is just one too many. Where was that threshold of coming to that decision?
That is such a good question. The very first year we had 5 pilot schools. Um, I was exactly one day ahead of their rehearsals in writing these method books. And I would write a page, and then all 5 of those special education teachers essentially would say, "No, this is terrible," every single week. Um, and then I would rewrite that page and one more, which means that it really works because it was the most painful process in the world. But I think just because we started really small, right? And I could stand in every one of those 5 classrooms every single week as we went along, we could see, oh, I knew that 1-to-1 would never be good. 2 is okay, depending on the need of the student. 3 seemed to just kind of magically fit. And wherever we had 4 or 5 or sometimes 6, we had problems. So it took a couple of weeks, and then we went, we need another musician because you don't have anything to do. So
Right.
trial and error. It's interesting because all 5 of those special education teachers were not musicians. And so they were able to look at what we were doing as far as curriculum, right? Because the wheel is round. I mean, we're going to teach one note at a time, like beginning band, beginning orchestra. The beginning is the beginning. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Any one of you will look at the method book and go, well, I could have written this, and I agree. Because there's no reinventing of how to teach beginners of the wheel, but they were able to look at it without the musical lens and say, there's not enough white space. There are too many things on this page. This is too small. The jump from here to here was too big. You've lost me. So they could look at it from that more critical perspective almost because they weren't musicians. So that was fun.
Wow. Right. And again, if there's any questions, please feel free to send them my way. We have roughly about 5 minutes left. I just want to go back and just say thank you to, the work that United Sound has done in supporting, and just the video was just so powerful and inspirational. It was just incredible. I just wonder also too, I'm just looking at my notes very quickly. I think about the training. I was a band director for over 14 years, and I don't recall much training. The inclusion was happening faster than sometimes I knew. It was the student was there, and then maybe there was a IEP or something coming my way saying, "Oh, by the way, this student is, there." We think they would like
If they
band.
show you the IEP, sometimes you don't even get it.
Exactly. Or they might be all stapled together with several students, and you have to sort through yourself. And then that's not the time to diminish any school district, but I'm saying that was my experience. And I'm hoping, I've been away from the classroom for a while, that we're getting better about that. But, I really appreciate the story of where you experienced to get us to where we are today, and how you put this together, and the likes of having partnerships with Bands of America and other opportunities. Because as you said, not just having a special education concert for these students. I'm a huge fan of Bands of America and other corporations, and to see that, oh wow, I was watching that parade. I was watching that National Concert Festival. I saw that video. I saw that live, and just to hear that's just incredible. A quick question: do you, when you have charter programs, are you coming in from a school base, or is it a district base? What's your approach with those opening charter programs?
That depends. I would say 80% of what we've done has come one school at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Because somebody will be at an event, they'll be at the Midwest Clinic, or they'll be at a DCI. Like that's how we market, is through all of these big partners, right? So you're already doing something neat. Can we add 2 more minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Can we put 2 more minutes of this? And they say yes, and that's what we do. So we'll have just all of these teachers have kind of come along one at a time. Every now and again, we'll have an administrator that will say, this is great, let's do that. That's starting to happen more now. just because, I think that's the natural growth pattern. But we like it better when it's one teacher at a time, because that means it's one teacher who wants to do it versus one administrator who's telling you what you get to do or have to do. Um, and it can work both ways, but we want to create happy, fun environments. We want to make it easy on people. We tell our teachers this should take you 1 hour a week, 15 minutes to get ready, and 45 minutes to do it. And if it's taking you longer than that, you're not doing it right. Something I didn't mention is that within your club, you're going to choose 2 club presidents. And those 2 students meet with us on Zoom every single month, where we continue giving them more information and they take it back to your club and tell everybody else. The students write the lesson plans, the students write the modified parts for the concerts, the students should be doing everything. I had lots of leadership things in my own band program that were actually like followership, like, I'm the leader, are you following me? And this is one of those things that if you're doing it, it's right. There's no competition. The end goal is do it. So it can be whatever the students want it to be. And it can be this really like authentic, neat thing for them, where you just stand back and watch. And most of our teachers by week 3 are a little annoyed because they're like, well, this is great, but what is there for me to do? Like, watch.
Yeah.
Stand back and enjoy the hour. But that's a fun thing. I noticed Christina unmuted. Did you have a question?
I do.
Great.
Thank you. So I teach orchestra in a very small district. I'm a department of 1, and I teach 4th grade through 12th grade in 3 schools, but in 2 buildings. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, if my 4th graders are the beginning string players, who, like, would my 6th graders be mentors to my new musicians in 4th grade or 5th grade, depending on whenever they start? How do I make that leap and not have it take too many hours a week? I really liked what you said about the limited time constraints, because that's what we live with, right?
We
like
want
I'm
you
trying to
we
yeah,
want you
sorry.
to think peer to peer, because you cannot be friends with somebody you're not the same age as. So
Right.
within the high school, we also mostly build things backwards. Now you have control over everybody, so you don't have to do this. But when we are in a new school district, we want the high school to have a United Sound chapter first, and then the middle school, and years later the elementary school, so that you're building up. Not that you got to do this really cute, fun thing, and then when you got to high school, you got kicked out because there's no place for you.
That's what I was like, wait, that can't happen.
Right. So I would say for you, I would say we're doing a thing. It's for high school kids only, and then the high school students are mentoring other high school students. And you're now creating a door, right, where there is no beginner door. You could be a Rhodes Scholar. There's no door for you to start orchestra as 17 years old. So, right, because there may be in your school district, but in general, like the entry point is when we're 10 or 11, and if you don't get on the boat, too late. So I would say start something at the high school, make it work, and then if it does, say, great, now we're going to do a 7th and 8th grade version. Let them, and then they can do their own thing that's separate. I assume you don't all play on the same concerts, but you might. The other thing is, we can work it out so that it works perfectly for you. For United Sound, the students need to do the teaching, and there need to be performance opportunities of some kind. But like I said at the beginning, everything else is a buffet. And we'll sit down with you and go, okay, what would be perfect for you at your school, and how can we support you in doing what's good for you? And if you went into 5 United Sound chapters, you'd see 5 completely different versions. Other than that kids were teaching each other, it would look different in all 5 schools, because you're professionals. We want it to fit you and your culture and your school. So send me an email. Let's talk it through.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for that question. Well, on the behalf of Nat King Cole Generation Hope, we thank you so much for sharing your expertise and time today, Ms. Duty. We really appreciate that. Just such insightful information. And again, very, very inspiring. I want to just personally thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Great. Well, friends, we will now take a very short break for coffee, tea, stretching, anything you need to do to refresh yourself before we get into our next session. And we will start promptly at 2 p.m. Thank you.